Hey guys, it's Luca with Learning MTG, and I'm going to continue this series on the most broken decks I've ever played. So here's number 2. This is actually a deck that I came up with myself. It's probably the only time in Magic that I've came up with like a unique, really powerful deck. Um, Basically, I'll tell the story of like how I came up with it. I was messing around. I was just like screwing around with really bad decks in Pauper for whatever reason. I was playing Life Bomb? Something like Life Spellbomb?
Loaded. Saxon.
What is it called? Oh, Life Spark? Yeah, I was playing this card. So you can sacrifice Life Spark Spellbomb to make a land a 3/3 creature. It's still a land. Let me see if I can like zoom in on a bigger picture for you guys. So basically what I did is I would play like Overgrowth and Wild Growth and those sorts of things on a land, play Lifespark Spellbomb on it, and then play Freed from the Real on the land to make infinite mana, and then with infinite mana you won with like Wild Heart Invoker. Um, so let me pull up Wild Heart Invoker. So it was like a really bad deck. You can just imagine by the sounds of it. Um, But, messing around with that kind of stuff is like, okay, I'm enchanting my lands so that they tap for more, and untapping lands, and, there was something there kind of. And then, while I was working on that deck, Urza's Legacy came out on Magic Online, which means Frantic Search, Snap, and Cloud Fairies were released, and they were all legal in Pauper. And I was like, wait, maybe I can do some cool stuff with this. And so I was playing like blue-green decks, like with like Wild Growth, Overgrowth. There's another one too that it makes it. It's like a 4-mana enchantment. Your land taps for extra 2 mana of any color. And then I don't remember what I was doing, but I don't remember how I won. Maybe I still had like that same infinite mana thing. Um, Eventually, I may have had Mnemonic Wall snap too. Yeah, I think that's what I did actually. I think so. I would like Mnemonic Wall, bring back snap your Mnemonic Wall, and just keep doing that over and over. Generate infinite mana, and then I would kill them with the Rolling Thunder, which is basically like a fireball. So that deck was actually not so bad. I could win on like turn 4 or 5. But playing that, eventually I was like going through the Pauper forums, like PDC Magic had forums where people were talking about different Pauper decks. It doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But someone was like, had a deck with familiars in it, and I was like, whoa, wait a second, this is like a Sapphire Medallion, right? And that was what I tried. I'm like, okay, let me build a mono blue deck where I'm just splashing white for Sunscape Familiar and I'm just splashing black for Nightscape Familiar. And yeah, it ended up being really good. There are a few things that make this deck good. Mainly the fact that you can pretty much win on turn 3. Oh, and also the other thing I'll add too is instead of like trying to enchant my lands with Wild Growth and Overgrowth and stuff, I was just playing like these Karoo lands that tap for multiple mana. So basically the deck was extremely powerful because you could generate infinite mana and infinite cards as early as turn 3, so you could draw through your whole deck, play your whole deck on turn 3. It was easier to do it on turn 4, but you could definitely do it on turn 3, and you didn't even have to go infinite. If you just play like 5 spells, Temporal Fissure, you bounce your opponent's entire board, the game's over. For whatever reason, no one played Temporal Fissure before. I think this card would have been really broken before, but no one like tried playing it, or maybe there just wasn't ways to, like untap and play kind of like free spells or spells that generate you mana. But I think like the biggest culprit was probably Temporal Fissure. This card is completely unfair. Yeah. Is it even legal in modern? I guess in modern you would just rather kill people, but just an unbelievable card in Pauper because it can't be countered, and once you bounce their whole board, the game's over. In addition, like whenever I temporal fissured, I'd also bounce all my Cloud of Fairies and Mole Drifters and stuff, so you get like even more value. Not that it really mattered at that point, but you could do that. So so basically, how does the deck work? The deck you want to get a Karoo land into play, and you want to get one of your familiars into play. Once you've got that, you're playing Cloud of Fairies. Cloud of Fairies is like a dark ritual. Snap is like it's like two dark rituals because you get to snap your Cloud of Fairies and play it again. And this is someone else's list. I couldn't find any of my old lists. Um, Someone who copied my deck, dirty net decker. But I played 4 Snap, and I probably played a second Demonic Wall, and I think I might have only played 3 Deep Analysis and less 4 C, and I played like lots of Circle of Protections in my sideboard. So it was like slightly different, but it was almost the same exact thing. But basically, yeah, you generate a ton of mana with Cloud of Fairy, Snap, Frantic Search. You draw through your whole deck because every card draws so many cards. Like Deep Analysis draws you 4 cards, Compulsive Research digs you 3 cards, and it's basically like 1 blue mana. Basically, the limiting factor when you're going off with this deck is just your blue mana. You have so much extra black and white mana from untapping and tapping your Karoo lands. But yeah, you just draw through your deck and you bounce their board, and then you just kill them over the course of a couple turns with your Cloud of Fairies and Nightscape Familiars and Muldrifters. And you hope to not deck yourself, basically. But you could also, okay, well, actually, there's probably some kind of loop too that if you needed to win the game immediately, you could loop like Temporal Fissures, and if you had 2 Mnemonic Walls, you could bring back your Temporal Fissure, bring back Compulsive Research, and have your opponent draw 3 cards over and over and deck them. So, but that, it doesn't really come to that, but if you really needed to win the game immediately for whatever reason, you could do that if you're playing 2 Mnemonic Wall. This is before Ghostly Flicker was printed, so there's no Ghostly Flicker shenanigans, but this deck was way more powerful because you just won on turn 3. Yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about this deck. When I built it, I was like just playing against people, and no one knew about the deck yet because I had just built it, and so I was just like no one could stop me. Like the aggro decks would win on turn 4, so I was faster than the aggro decks. Control decks, they couldn't deal with all this card advantage. There's just way too much card advantage in the deck for a control deck to really stop you. I'd play games where it's like turn 8 or 10 or whatever, and they've killed like 4 of my creatures and they've countered like 5 of my spells, but I'm still about to win the game. You're faster than the other combo decks, and is against what else is there? Yeah, just combo control and aggro. Pretty much you're just like a turn faster than everyone else, and you're a combo deck, so you have inevitability. Like your end game beats everyone else's end game, and you're also the fastest deck in the format, and you also out card advantage the control decks. So it was a hell of a deck, and eventually it got many cards banned. Temporal Fissure got banned, Cloud of Fairies got banned, Frantic Search got banned, and Snap got banned. So 4 different cards in this deck were eventually banned from Pauper. But yeah, I think it's cool. It was cool for me just because it was like, wow, I actually built a good deck for once in my life. And it also kind of showed me that like messing around with weird like if I had never like messed around with something terrible like Life Spark Spellbomb, I probably would have never come up with this deck, which I think is maybe like a metaphor for life. In life, trying strange things that don't pay off immediately can reap huge rewards in the future. Kind of like following your gut, following your heart, following your curiosity. So yeah, that was the Pauper Storm deck, Familiar Storm, whatever you want to call it. Basically a mono blue deck splashing black for just Nightscape Familiar, and white for just Sunscape Familiar. Also, like, let me talk about the sideboard really quick. Prismatic Strands is insane. Um, just there's so many monocolor decks in Pauper, so being able to play Prismatic Strands and also just randomly having white creatures in your deck to flash it back is amazing. And then I played COPs like COP Red, COP Green, COP Blue. Um, yeah, so you also got access to some really like all the best sideboard cards back then in Pauper were white, so you got access to like all the best sideboard cards. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and look forward to the next broken deck. Probably Cobblade. See you guys.